Woman calls her work to say she will be late, but never arrives. Her car is found close to her home with traces of a cleaning product inside. And her phone GPS reveals odd trips to a nearby town. Where is Cristina ASE? 2024? Background. Cristina ASE was 62 when she went missing from Vancouver, Washington, USA. She was originally from Argentina, and that is where most of her family resides today. She was, however, very close with her coworkers, who saw themselves as her family in the U.S. Cristina immigrated to U.S. in the mid-2000s, hoping to find better job opportunities. Despite being a biochemist in Argentina, Cristina's first job in the States was that of a cook at a nursing facility. She was then offered a job related to keeping medical records. She accepted and managed to earn her RN and BSN. Later on, she managed to get a DMS degree. Cristina knew no English when she arrived in the U.S., but she managed to learn the language all by herself. Cristina was married and didn't have any children. She worked as a nursing director at assisted living facility Rose Lynn Care Center in Clackamas County. Cristina has been employed there for at least 5 years. At the time of her disappearance, there were no known issues in Cristina's personal life. Amy Shower, one of Cristina's coworkers, said that she was the true epitome of a nurse. Cristina gave her whole life to helping others. She never put herself above anybody. She went out. She took care of our residents like it was a family member. Disappearance. On the 5th of March, Cristina called her boss at 7:30 a.m. to tell him that she will be late for work due to an alleged mammogram appointment. Investigation after Cristina disappeared has revealed that she indeed have one scheduled that day, but it was supposed to happen at 4:30 p.m. This might be related to Cristina's odd behavior before she went missing. On the 25th of March, Cristina acted as usual. She was reportedly excited about participating in a staff training that was supposed to take place on the next day. Cristina was last heard from on the 26th of March at 6:34 a.m. She was last in contact with anyone when she sent a message to her coworkers saying that she will be late and that she'll come to work around 8:30 a.m. She didn't give a reason as to why she'll come late. Her 2 other coworkers found it odd. Cristina would usually message all of them when she knew she'd be late. Cristina's phone showed that she left her home at 6:34 a.m. and traveled southbound on Interstate 205 into Portland. At 6:47 a.m., Cristina took the Southeast Foster Road exit and drove a few blocks through residential neighborhoods. After that, her phone showed that she spent about 3 hours in Glenwood Park. Phone data showed that during that time, Cristina was moving between the park and 1 or more homes close by. At around 10 a.m., the phone moved to the intersection of Southeast Flavel and 92nd Avenue, where it pinged for about 5 minutes and was then turned off. When informed about this odd trip during the investigation, Cristina's coworkers don't know why she would go there. Her coworkers found it suspicious that she didn't show up for her shift and contacted the authorities. Cristina always showed up to work and was very responsible. If she couldn't get to work on time, she'd always get in contact and inform her coworkers about it. She was officially reported missing by her husband, who was allegedly shocked that she didn't show up for work. Her disappearance was considered suspicious from the start. Cristina's coworkers found her car, a 2013 dark gray Toyota RAV4 with Washington plate, AQT 1726, parked outside her apartment complex on the next day, the 27th of March. Her lunch bag was found inside it, like she was just on her way to work. Investigation discovered powdery, white residue of a cleaning product on the interior surfaces of the car. A roll of duct tape was also found inside, and the car's rearview mirror was askew. Shortly after her disappearance, the investigators shared a plea to anyone who lived in a quarter-mile radius of following locations to check any home security systems they had for any recordings of Cristina or her car. Between 4 p.m. Monday, March 25th and 5 p.m. Wednesday, March 27th, the locations were *501 SE 123 carat RD, Ave, Vancouver, Washington, her home. *Glenwood Park, 8800 block of Southeast Claiborne Street, Portland, Oregon. *Flavel Street and SE 92 carat ND, Ave, Portland, Oregon. During the course of the investigation, it came to light that Cristina misled her boss and husband regarding her whereabouts about 3 times that year. Once, she left her home at 6:30 a.m. and texted her boss that she will be about 20 minutes late. It's unclear where she went on that days, but Southeast Foster exit is exactly 20 minutes away from her home. It's also likely that Cristina visited the area of Glenwood Park on the day before she disappeared. It was noted by police that Cristina's coworkers and husband were cooperating from the start. Cristina's husband told investigators that Cristina didn't seem to use their joint account after she went missing. Cristina had 3 credit cards, but it hasn't been shared if any of them were used after she disappeared. Conclusion: according to her husband, Cristina had her medical appointments at Kaiser Sunnyside Medical Center, which is about 3.3 miles, 5 kilometers, away from Glenwood Park. While foul play is suspected by police in Cristina's case, imminently dangerous medical emergency also a possibility according to the investigators. Given the state of her car, it's unclear what exactly they mean. There is a $2,500 reward for information about Cristina Ace's whereabouts. Cristina ASE was 62 when she went missing and would be 63 now. She's a Hispanic, Argentinian woman, 5 feet 8 inches, 173 centimeters, and 151 pounds, 69 kilograms. She had a black purse with white stitching, but her exact last outfit isn't known. She has graying brown hair and brown eyes. Her ears are pierced. Cristina is bilingual and speaks Spanish and English. If you know anything about Cristina's whereabouts, contact the Vancouver Police Department at 360-693-3111. Murder at Mooney. Mooney, the brutal Australian. Double homicide of Maria Karakatsanis and Demetrius Jim Keyes. Warning: while of course all murders are inherently disturbing and upsetting, this write-up discusses a particularly sadistic crime, where the victims were tortured before their deaths. Reader discretion is advised. Introduction: researching missing persons in the Australian state of New South Wales, NSW, can be a difficult task. Although its search function has been broken for years, making it impossible to view many records. While there are some great volunteer-run resources like the Australian Missing Persons Register, their coverage is incomplete and case details are often sparse. As a result, researching missing persons in NSW requires looking at a wide range of sources, including old newspaper reporting and parliamentary records, in which addresses missing and murdered women from the north coast of NSW. I recently came across a name I'd never encountered before: Maria Karakatsanis. Some follow-up Googling turned up. Maria purportedly vanished from the central coast of NSW in 1983. When I decided to look further into Maria's case, nothing prepared me for what I was about to find. Maria was not in fact missing, but had instead been the victim of a brutal double murder, alongside her married lover, Demetrius Keyes. Given that there is virtually zero information publicly available on the internet about this case, I'm hoping that this post will set the record straight about Maria's missing status and bring attention to a horrible crime that has been all but forgotten. The discovery. Mooney is a small settlement on the northern bank of the Hawkesbury River, about 40 kilometers, 25 miles, north of Sydney in the Central Coast region of NSW. It is a familiar location to many travelers on the M1 motorway that serves as the main northbound route out of Sydney, as it features a scenic riverside rest stop and park called Durubin Reserve. It was near this reserve during the early morning hours of Wednesday, May 18, 1983, that Maria Karakatsanis and Demetrius Keyes were sadistically murdered. Just up the road from the reserve is an ambulance depot, positioned to take advantage of the easy access to motorway on-ramps in both directions of travel. At around 1 a.m., ambulance staff noticed a station wagon on fire on the reserve behind the depot. When they went to investigate, they made a horrifying discovery. The charred body of a male was in the passenger seat. On the ground beside the car lay the naked body of a woman, her head badly burnt and her ankles and right arm broken. When police were summoned to the scene, they found near the car a woman's handbag, clothing and wallet, a pair of men's and women's shoes, and an envelope containing papers including a provisional driver's license. The identity of the license holder was not shared publicly. They also found blood on the ground around 15 meters, 49 feet, from the car. The victims, The victims were identified on Saturday, May 21st as Maria Karakatsanis and Demetrius Jim Keyes. The brief reporting revealed that Demetrius was a married man and Maria was his lover. Almost no information about the victims or their relationship was made publicly available, so I'll share some tentative insights about them from my own research below. I was able to turn up very little information about the life of Maria Karakatsanis during my research. Her surname appears in a wide variety of spellings: Karakatsanis, Karakatsani, Karakatsan, Karakatanis, Karatsanis, in available records and reporting. Her age at death was given as 35, meaning that she was born in 1947 or 1948, while her parents' names are given on her death, record as Stavros and Denise. We don't know if she was born in Greece or Australia, although the fact that she never appears in the electoral roll suggests that she didn't hold Australian citizenship. It's difficult to determine if Maria immigrated to Australia, as it's unclear whether Karakatsanis was her original or married surname. On one hand, there is a 1975 marriage record for a Maria Sully to a John Karakatsanis in Sydney. But on the other hand, there is no mention of her being married in reporting on her death despite the emphasis placed on Demetrius' marital status. We do know that Maria lived in the eastern Sydney suburb of East Lakes at the time of her murder, of her home from the Sydney Morning Herald archive, which never seems to have appeared in print, gives her address as 286 Gardner's Road. Sadly, while we have a photo of her home, I was unable to find any photos of Maria herself. A little more information is available about Demetrius Jim Keyes. Demetrius was also known as Jim, and this was the name used on his funeral announcement and death record. There are conflicting accounts of his birth date. His Findegrave page states September 18, 1944, while family trees on Ancestry.com state that he was born to parents Christos and Paraskevela on March 13, 1945, in the Greek town of Viria, given that Demetrius' age at death was given as 38. Both of these birth dates are credible. While again it's unclear when Demetrius arrived in Australia, we know that he married Diamanto Saicha, also known as Diane, in Sydney, in 1970, and they had several children together. At the time of his murder, Demetrius lived on Samurai Road in the western Sydney suburb of Wallan. The crime. It took some time to establish what had likely happened to Maria and Demetrius at this baffling crime scene. An autopsy revealed that both victims had massive internal injuries, including broken bones, but there was no sign of gunshot wounds on either of the bodies. Disturbingly, these injuries appeared most consistent with them having been run over by a car several times. In addition to the blood found close to the burning car, further inspection of the scene had revealed skid marks and pieces of flesh fused to the grass. Taken together, these pieces of evidence indicated that both victims had been incapacitated by being repeatedly run over before they were placed in Demetrius' station wagon, which was then set alight. An examination was conducted to determine if Maria and Demetrius had died in the car fire or before. While the results were not made public, the fact that Maria was found on the ground by the car with severe burns to her head indicates that she survived long enough to escape the fire, but succumbed to her injuries shortly after. Maria and Demetrius were both nude when they were found. While Maria's clothing seems to have been found outside the vehicle, there is no mention of Demetrius. Possibly his clothing was consumed in the car fire. Detectives ultimately developed a distressing theory about how the crime had played out. They believed that the couple had been tortured by their killer, who forced them to run naked around the reserve while chasing them in a car. They were each knocked down several times by the car, but got up and ran again until they were finally killed. This method of murder was so distinctive that homicide detectives nicknamed the case the Wild One Murders, after the Bikey movie in which a similar car chase in a park takes place. The leads. This extremely brutal crime seems to have left police puzzled, as there is an odd contradiction between earlier and later reporting about why the couple came to Mooney Mooney. Initial reporting stated that the area was a known lover's lane, and it seems pretty clear that Maria and Demetrius had made the 1-hour drive out of Sydney for this purpose. While it's unknown if Maria had a partner, Demetrius would presumably have tried his hardest to conceal the affair from his family. Furthermore, many circumstantial factors most importantly their nudity, indicate that the couple's killer apprehended them while they were having sex. Despite this, police later commented that they were mystified as to why the couple would have gone to the park in the first place. At this later stage, the police's best guess was that a group of hoodlum thrill killers came upon the couple in the park early on the Wednesday morning and perpetrated their torture and murder. From the start, leads in this case were scarce. According to early reporting, police were following several leads in the hunt for the killer, or killers, but the lead investigator, Detective Inspector George Shields, said he did not expect an early arrest. Police made an appeal for anyone knowing the movements of either Maria or Demetrius on the Tuesday evening before their murders to contact the Homicide Squad or Gosford Police. More specifically, they appealed for anyone who may have seen a white 1974 station wagon being driven from the eastern suburbs to the reserve late on Tuesday or early on Wednesday. The results of this appeal, if any, were never publicized. The one concrete lead reported publicly came from two fishermen on the Hawkesbury River who had a view of the reserve from their boat. The fishermen told police that they saw two cars pull off the Newcastle to Sydney Expressway, now the M1 motorway, around midnight on the night of the murders. The aftermath, the murders of Maria and Demetrius, generated shockingly little media coverage, considering the extreme level of sadism displayed by their killer. I have only been able to trace 3 short newspaper articles about this case, published between May 19th to May 22nd, 1983 in the Sydney Morning Herald. These are linked at the end of the write-up, with another passing mention in an article about NSW's murder rate on May 26th. There is also one additional article not from the Sydney Morning Herald, which is featured on an Ancestry.com page for Demetrius. I'm not sure where this was taken from, but it doesn't include any information beyond what was shared in the other articles. If anyone is able to find more sources, please let me know and I'll update the post. There was a delay between the murders and the interment of the victims, presumably because of the autopsy and any other forensic examinations. Demetrius' funeral service took place at the St. Anargyri Greek Orthodox Church in Dulwich Hill on July 12th. He was then laid to rest at the Eastern Suburbs Memorial Garden. Maria was buried on July 28th at Liverpool General Cemetery. Her death record gives her name as Maria Karakitsani, while the cemetery records variously list her as Maria Karakitanis and Maria Karakatsan. Maria's Findegrave page incorrectly gives this burial date as her date of death. Demetrius' wife Diamanto lived until the age of 68, passing away in September of 2012. While almost no information is available online about Maria, it's clear that Demetrius is still deeply missed by his children, who have left several tributes on his Findegrave page. A postscript. Speaking of Demetrius' Findegrave page, it's worth mentioning a comment on this page, which was apparently left by one of his children. This comment reads as follows: "I tried, Dad, to find your murderers, but they were going to kill our whole family. I had to stop. Please understand." Assuming that this is genuine and not some kind of mean-spirited hoax, I'll offer some speculation on this comment below. The questions: did Maria and Demetrius take one car or two to Mooney Mooney? We know that the couple were found in or near Demetrius' car, which was a station wagon. And we also know that police were appealing for information about a white 1974 station wagon driven from the eastern suburbs to the site of the murder. There's never any mention of Maria driving a separate car to the spot. And if Demetrius was taking the fastest route from Wallen to Mooney Mooney, he certainly wouldn't be traveling via the eastern suburbs. So let's work with the hypothesis that Demetrius picked up Maria in his white 1974 station wagon from her home in the eastern suburbs, and then they drove together to Mooney Mooney. We know that some fishermen on the Hawkesbury River saw two cars pull off the motorway just after midnight. Of course, unless they were watching the whole time and didn't see any other cars, we can't be sure that the fishermen specifically saw the couple traveling to the rest stop. A motorway rest stop is in use at all hours of day and night. However, if one and only one of these cars was indeed occupied by the couple, then it's possible that they were tailed to the location, e.g., by someone who wanted to verify an affair was taking place, or someone who already knew this and had motive to harm the couple because of it. Alternatively, The other car could have belonged to strangers, who ambushed the couple while they were having sex in order to perform a thrill kill. As per the police's theory, what type of car did the killer use in the murders? There isn't much detail available about the account provided by the fisherman who saw the two cars pulling off the motorway. Crucially, we don't know if they were close enough to shore to give more specific details about the makes and models of the cars they saw heading to the reserve, or if they just saw two pairs of headlights in the distance. However, there might also be other clues available about the type of car used by the killer. The skid marks mentioned in reporting could be a source of information about the tire treads on the car, and they could also provide information about the car's track width and wheelbase. These pieces of information are unlikely to narrow down a specific model of car, but they could have been a useful tool for screening the vehicles of potential suspects who knew about the couple's affair. If the wrong people found out about Maria and Demetrius' affair, this could open the door to a range of motives for their murders. For instance, if a partner or spouse found out about the affair, they might be motivated to commit or orchestrate a crime of this nature. Equally, depending on how conservative the couple's families were, family members might have a motive for murder to punish the couple for their transgression and protect their reputation within Sydney's tight-knit Greek community. On the other hand, had either member of the couple discussed their affair with friends? For example, is it known if they went to the reserve at Mooney Mooney on a routine basis, e.g., on most Tuesday nights? And if so, might someone have known that there would be a good chance of finding them there at the time of the crime? This could account for how someone known to the victims might have planned their murder, as I have a hard time believing that Demetrius and Maria would have initiated sex if there was any sign that other people were around, or that they had been tailed to their location. What was the motive for committing murder in such a violent manner? The level of brutality involved in this crime could be interpreted either way. The desire to inflict prolonged suffering on the victims by toying with them and repeatedly running them over could be taken as a sign of a highly personal sense of rage and betrayal, or it could be the sign of someone truly sadistic, who simply enjoyed the cruelty of the torture they was perpetrating. Asterisk, why was Demetrius' car set on fire? Was accelerant used? Asterisk. Typically, a killer might torch their victim's car in order to conceal evidence. But if this murder was committed by running the victims over with a car as believed, then it's not immediately clear to me what type of evidence they were trying to conceal. Yes, the killer's DNA might have been transferred to the victims when moving their bodies back to Demetrius' car before starting the fire, but nobody would have been thinking about that in 1983. The only evidence-related possibility I can think of is if the body showed clear tire marks or something. But if this was the case, why leave the scene before confirming that Maria's body had burned too? To me, the act of burning the victims' bodies feels more personal than practical, as though the killer was seeking to add insult to injury. If an accelerant was used to set Demetrius' car on fire, this could be interpreted as a sign of premeditation on the part of the killer. Equally, however, an opportunistic murderer could simply have had a can of petrol on hand in their car and decided on the spot to use it. What do Demetrius' children know or suspect? Based on the comment left on Demetrius' Findegrave page, I wonder if his children have knowledge or suspicions about who killed him and Maria. If this comment is genuine, it suggests that Demetrius' children have at least some idea of who was involved in his murder. This comment might also imply that there was something personal about the killings of Demetrius and Maria, as it's hard to see why a random thrill killer would continue to target the family of a victim after the fact. Conclusion. Overall, Maria and Demetrius' murders are a senseless and violent tragedy about which we know very little, although it doesn't seem like police ever talked publicly about this case beyond the initial investigation. I wonder if they and the families have suspicions about the perpetrators, which simply can't be proven due to the lack of available evidence. Either way, I hope that this post does a better job of telling the victims' stories than the misleading reporting on Maria, which is currently out there. Given that Demetrius' children seem to be quite active in memorializing him online, I also want to offer my sincere condolences to the victims' families, who have now been living without closure for over 4 decades.